Hello, my name is Chris Kline, and I'm here today with Christine Dittmar. We're with Cardno, ecological consulting and environmental firm, and we're working with Easterday Construction on the landscape plan for the paddocks. And we wanted to talk to you about some of the features of the landscaping plan, which will be installed over the course of 2020. Welcome, Christine. You're the project manager for this project. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm been a part of Cardno for 13 years now, and working with sustainable design, landscape design, and that includes rain gardens, prairies, bank stabilizations, and several projects. And my responsibilities are here to make sure the project is designed properly and communication rhythms are good, and that it's brought to fruition in 2020 here. So we're going to be presenting the proposed plan for the paddocks.
And as Christine said, this is a sustainable landscape, and we want to talk a little bit about what that looks like. Sustainability means a balance, and a balance of what's environmentally, economically, and socially appropriate. So, for example, a landscaping plan that may be the greenest plan imaginable would not be considered sustainable if people don't like it. If it doesn't have good social benefit, or if it's too expensive and it doesn't make sense economically. Likewise, the cheapest option, throwing grass seed down and calling it a day, wouldn't be considered sustainable if it doesn't have good environmental impact, and the same thing if people don't like it. So what we've tried to put together for the paddocks is a sustainable plan, one that should balance all of these factors. Let's talk about another aspect of our design element here.
Right, the National Green Building Standard is something that Easterday has taken the paddocks, taken the design, and asked them to approve it at a silver status. The NGBS is the only green building rating system for homes and apartments approved by the American National Standards Institute, ANSI. So what this does is it holds the paddocks to energy efficiency, water conservation, in air quality, and in this case, our participation included tree species, the native seeds that are required, the region the seeds used to seed the lot need to be from Northwest Indiana, for example. So we were involved in this NGBS certification and received a green flag from them with regard to our design already for the paddocks.
So some other elements that are going to be part of our design plan, and before I show you the plan itself, are incorporating native plants. Native plants are a really important part of our landscaping feature, and for a lot of reasons. One, they provide a lot of services to the site that you might not expect, and that includes that benefit the town of Culver, for example. For the deep-rooted native plants you see here, this graphic shows roots that go down 2, 4, 6, 8 feet or more, and those provide channels for water when it rains, so it reduces the storm load on the town of Culver storm system. They also provide a place on slopes that these deep roots help hold the soil in place, so they have some erosion benefits. When compared to turf grass, as you see here, which is very thin-rooted, you can see why a native landscaping will look greener for a longer period of time during periods of drought, and provides other benefits, certainly for various pollinator species, butterflies and birds that need those sorts of species. Another element that we included in our design again, to get to the sustainable concept, is what we call low mow fescue. And this is a type of grass that you see on golf courses, on golf course in the rough area particularly. This only requires mowing a couple times a year. And so we think it's a sustainable solution because that means you as a resident not have as much mowing going on. You don't have that noise. The neighbors don't have that noise, but you still have that green look that most folks like to see in where they live. Now, this is the landscape plan that we put together for the paddocks, and just to orient yourself, this is Jefferson Drive down here at the bottom, and the entrance to the paddocks is right here. As you drive into the entrance, the first thing you're going to notice is what we're calling a pollinator garden. And this is one of our 3 diverse native seedings that are on the property. The pollinator garden is going to be loaded with native wildflowers. 2 or 3 different species will be blooming in the early period, the middle period, and the late period of the season, and will be a really attractive feature. On the north end of the property, you see this purple area is another detention area, meaning that's where stormwater will drain, and this we planted with a variety of native plants, some of which are going to be more at the base of the basin, are going to be more able to handle heavy water flows, have wet feet, as it were. On the southern end of the property, we're going to have another native border. This will also have a lot of wildflowers in it, but some grasses. This is a little bit of a slope here, so that will help stabilize that slope. Other features that you'll see throughout the landscaping plan, the dark green area, that low mow fescue we were just talking about, and the light green area is your traditional turf grass. And we figure in our 30 years of doing this kind of work that most folks want a mowed lawn up around their house, and so we provided that. The other thing that we've learned in 30 years of doing this sort of work is that we need to show that these native areas are intentional, that they're meant to look maybe a little overgrown, not like a perfectly manicured lawn. And so we have borders around all these. There's a sidewalk with a turf grass border around our pollinator area, for example. On the north end of the property, the detention basin, we have another border, and you will look out some bluebird boxes, some plum trees. We're calling it an orchard planting, and these are native fruit trees that may bear fruit. You might go out there and see if you can find some plums. We also have lots of trees throughout the property, over 24 trees, deciduous hardwood trees that you can see some in clumps. We'll show you some pictures of what those look like here in a few minutes. Other features on the landscaping plan include a community garden, a place for a community garden, a fire pit area. We have a little rain garden here, and Tina will talk a little bit more about rain gardens here in a few minutes. And that will be integrated with a play area and a play space that won't be a traditional swing set and teeter-totter. There'll be a place for kids that live in the paddocks will be able to access. Christina, what have I left out here? Anything that you want to add?
You covered quite a bit there. With the overall, half of this site is natural landscaping, which would be the native plants, and then half of it is the turf grass, which would be the urban landscaping. And what they tend to do, especially with the turf grass mode, is they tend to complement one another. Just like Chris was saying, the nice, clean, trim borders against the wildflowers really makes them pop visually. So in addition to the colors, you have that vertical feature that the passerby can take in, and it'll attract birds and butterflies and be a dominant visual feature in the area. So
we'll give you some ideas of what this will look like if you're looking at this video during this summer of 2020. You may wonder what will look like. So this is an example of a local Goshen College landscaping that we did, similar landscaping. We started back in 2011, where we took a turf grass area and created a little prairie, a wildflower prairie, very similar to what you'll be seeing at those areas at the paddocks. This is only after 2 years, and you see a diverse mix of wildflowers and some various heights of vegetation. That is a intentional space at the college, and you see over time that will continue. The plants reseed themselves, and so year after year, you'll see different kinds of flowering species appear. And this is a drone shot taken last summer at that same area. The picture was taken here, looking this way. But you see some of the features that we've incorporated in the paddocks, a border area, mowed turf area right up next to the natives, a tree border. So some of these same features we've incorporated here, and you can see it does look very attractive on this college campus. Now, a lot of folks ask with the native prairie, well, doesn't it have to be burned? And we wanted to talk about that a little bit. Most of these plants evolved within what we call a fire ecology, so that ideally every 4 or 5 years, burning will help maintain the health of the prairie. If for whatever reason that's not possible, the prairie will still grow, will still thrive, but optimally you would like to burn it every 4 or 5 years. This is not a wildfire like you see on TV. As you can see in this border area, when it gets up to that turf grass, that's not fuel. The fire essentially stops. But at the same time, we have trained folks who are on site, who understand the conditions that have to be in place, the weather conditions, humidity and wind, etc., in order to burn safely. When it's done in a safe manner, it will only take just a few minutes to burn those areas there at the paddocks. And then you can see the result afterwards, quite handsome. This is an example of a burn that we did in an urban park up in Chicago. And you can still see the smoke from the burn. You notice that the wooden fence around the park, around the little prairie area is unharmed. You see our crew here that were there just in case. But you see as the natives come up to the turf grass, the fire stops. So it's a very safe and well-established way of maintaining prairie. And we've talked to the town of Culver, and they're, I think, supportive of this process. And you see 3 months after that burn, that same park is thriving, is full of a diverse mix of wildflowers. Wanted to share some other elements of particularly the trees that we have planted at the paddocks, or will be planting at the paddocks. Tulip tree, the Indiana state tree, hackberry, river birch, which we'll be planting in clumps around the area, and basswood. Christine, any other trees that we're incorporating into our design?
Well, we have the American plums there up around the the retention basin on the northwest corner, and no, I believe that covers it. We had 5 species total, so it's not a large variety, but we can group trees together and give it a nice manicured look amidst the native landscape. So,
Excellent.
Yep. This is an example. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say this is an example of a pocket grain garden similar to what we have envisioned at the paddocks near the play area. Here you can see the runoff from the concrete drive here helps feed water into the rain garden area. So a rain garden likes flushes of water. The one at the paddocks could take some roof runoff. It could take water in from the parking lot and then absorb that and give you this. What you see here are about 65 plants that'll be blooming midsummer to late fall. We have another example here of a larger rain garden in the city of Hobart, which took on a parking lot. I believe there were 130 parking spaces total. And this is in a high profile area near a gazebo where marriages are performed. And this was shortly after a rain. This garden was, I think 8 months old when this photo was taken. Now the plants are thriving, and it's a sight to behold when it's all blooming. Let's see, here we have example of bluebird boxes that Chris mentioned earlier. That'll be placed along the perimeter of areas delineated between low mow fescue and prairie grasses, or turf grass and low mow fescue, that have signs incorporated on them. You can see an example in the middle here. And this sign just simply says, helps reduce, native plantings help reduce maintenance costs, improve the water quality and beauty to the neighborhood. And it's a good example of reducing maintenance costs. If 50% of the site is not turf grass, that means 50% of the site is not being mowed every week. And it's saving on fuel, it's saving gases that are emitted into the atmosphere, and then also providing habitat for birds and bees and
reduces noise from the mowers, and makes it a more livable community.
Yeah.
Wanted to say just a few words about the play space area. What we've taken a design theory, and instead of putting like a swing set or a monkey bars or whatever in the play space area for kids, we're using something called nature play space, which takes pieces of landscape, typically logs, large sticks, and stones, and allows children to engage and play with those, not in a scripted fashion. So these are some examples of nature play features that we may incorporate, or put in over time at the Paddocks. Here's a mud kitchen, just a little stump and tables, but this, instead of with a swing set, you can only do one thing, you can swing. But with some of our native, with sticks and with stumps, you can create all sorts of games and stimulate kids' imagination to work together, to play together. And we think that this is going to be a really appropriate way, given the natural features that are incorporated elsewhere with the landscaping. So one last look at our landscaping design, and we're very proud of it. We hope that that you enjoy it, and that you'll enjoy it for years to come as you live at the Paddocks. Because remember, at Culver, we're all in this together, and we're very proud to be part of this project with Easter Day Construction. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you a great day.
Thank you.